And welcome to this week's LendingCon 2024 podcast for everything investment, development, and hospitality related. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Jim. We're thrilled to be your guides through the LendingCon world with thought-provoking leaders in those areas. You'll see financial investment hospitality experts and hear what to expect from them when you meet them in person in August.
Whether you're a seasoned hotelier or just getting into the industry, you can't afford to miss with meeting these professionals at LendingCon 2024.
This podcast is intended to let you hear about the latest trends, strategies, innovations in the lending world. Make your plans now to attend LendingCon 2024 in Orlando.
This is a 2-day inspirational event. It's created to bring you together with and allow you to network and learn from industry experts, thought leaders, and innovators in the industries.
So join us on August 7th and 8th as we explore the future of lending and development at LendingCon in Orlando, Florida at the Rosen Center on iDrive.
So stay tuned for today's guest, an exclusive lending intercom with Mr. Abraham Tieh, Director of National Commercial Property Tax at O'Connor Tax Reduction Exports.
Don't miss out. Stay tuned for an interview and reserve your spot at lendingcon.com today.
Back, we're delighted to have Mr. Abraham Tieh here with O'Connor.
Hi, everybody.
Glad you're
Glad
here.
to be here.
Good, Mr. Abraham. I'm glad you're here, and we're delighted to have you here with us as well. Can you, just for our listeners' sake, tell us a little bit about what O'Connor does and kind of how they work in the hotel and hospitality industry?
Sure. O'Connor, we are a property tax consulting firm. We have just celebrated our 50-year anniversary being in the business of helping property owners save tremendous amount of money on property tax payments. Our specialty is hospitality. I believe that we're the only property tax firm that is totally aligned with the hotel industry because we are partnering with AHOA, AHLA, and we're also partnered with all the hotel franchisors, the brands, as a preferred vendor or industry partner. And so we know the hotel business very, very well. And but the most special thing that we provide to the hotel owners is the special method that we have created that's considered to be proprietary in the United States because the value associated with the hotel business or hotel brand franchise is not taxable. It's not subject to property tax. However, the tax assessors everywhere in the United States have been taxing hotels with the business in it. The reason why I said that is that property tax assessors can only tax you on property, which means something you can touch and feel. Land, building, tables and chairs, sheets, bedding, linen, so on. However, in all 50 states, the property tax code says the intangible business personal property that is related to a franchise, a business or ongoing concern, a contract, a license, employee staffing, training, reservation systems and reward programs, and so on, is not subject to property tax. So historically, the tax assessors in all 50 states are not able to come up with a calculation for this intangible component that I'm talking about. And O'Connor have spent years in research, and we came up with the solid proof and the calculation to back it up as to what each hotel's brand value is contributed to the property revenue that is not taxable. Even for independent hotels, which we have a method to separate your business value, your ongoing concern away from the taxable real property. Therefore, the savings we've generated historically for hotel owners is anywhere from 20 to 50% more on property tax savings than they ever seen before.
That's quite a discount on the bill. That's great. So
Yeah,
because
50
so
to
many hotels are
70%.
struggling right now, pandemic, labor costs, inflation, rising cost of goods, you have any advice on how they can improve their bottom line with your method?
Right. And my advice is reduce your property tax. It's the fastest way to improve your bottom line because property tax is one of the biggest expense items after you mortgage and after property your labor. Uh, that property tax bill is the most prominent expense you have on your profit and loss statement. And the fastest way to reap the gratification of produce that savings is to file an appeal with the tax assessor. As fast as 30 days, we can get that value down. So when it's time for you to pay that property tax bill, it'll be substantially lower. But if we can get your value that we're targeting, then we will follow up with judicial appeal, which we will either go to court on your behalf or go to arbitration on your behalf to get your valuation to the correct value through the proceedings. And in that case, after you pay the property tax, you will see a tax refund after we get involved. So reducing your property tax, is the fastest way to improve your bottom line.
So you and your company would go to the courts to work on the property owner's behalf, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But if property taxes are supposed to be based on a fair market value, correct?
Wrong.
If that is the case, then why is it that the property taxes for like hotels and things are much higher than say my home property tax? And would they be able to use the O'Connor method to do something about that?
Right. So the common misconception from the hotel owners when it comes to what is the real market value versus what is the taxable value is very different. The market value that you're talking about is when you go buy a hotel, that's how much you pay for the property and the business. That's the market value. However, the taxable value excludes the business. So, knowing that alone, your property tax should come down 20% minimum after we get involved uh, because it is drastically different than market value. But when you go to talk to a tax assessor and you ask the same question, you said, Mr. Tax Assessor, do you assess properties based on market value? His answer is yes. But when it comes to hotels, the answer should be no. We will deduct the business value, which is intangible. After we deduct the intangible value off the market value, then we arrive at the taxable value. That should be the right answer.
Okay, well that makes sense
Yeah.
because I mean the misconception even with me is that full market value
Yep.
is how it's based on. So
Yeah.
Yep.
market
And you'll
value.
be surprised. You know, the luxury brands, full service, ultra luxury, their business value can be as high as 50% off that tax, off the market value.
Right. So then in the states, if
Mm-hmm.
the law of the states is clear, then
Yeah.
how do tax assessors value hotels currently?
The tax assessors value hotels without removing the business value. So when you go talk to a tax assessor and you say, look, why did my hotel value go up? My revenue didn't go up, but the value went up this year. And he's going to tell you, your buddy down the street just sold his hotel for this much. Therefore, I'm going to tax you proportionally for this much. However, when I asked the tax assessor on the sales comparables you just talked about and you have on your system, did you remove the intangible business enterprise value of the brand or the business? His answer is always no. Then my reply is always those sales that you have mentioned, the values that you have quoted, is invalid for hotel comparisons. You should remove the business value of each one of those sales before you can use those sales as comparables for property tax purposes.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So if they look at the comparison between the two properties, the buddy down the road and my property, and that law is pretty clear on that, then how does the tax assessor actually go in and assess the value of that hotel?
Right. So what happened is they assess you according to their assumptions, their modeling, and
Okay.
what the market sales is. So the three ways to value a hotel. One is the income approach valuation method. The tax assessor going to guess how much money you made, your gross revenue, and what your expenses is. And the second way is the equity approach, which means that if I assess your neighbor value per room a little lower than yours and you have the same class hotel, then I should do the same for you. That's an equity approach. Okay. And then you have the market approach, including the sales comps. So the valuation majority of the time comes up from the assessor developing a hotel valuation model. So they set up your hotel particular class. They're going to say the ADR is going to be this much and RevPAR is going to be this much, occupancy is this much. That's just our assumption. And then the expense is going to be this much divided by and then you have an NOI, net operating income, divided by that cap rate. There's your value. So they set up a preconceived model according to their interpretation of the market. Push a button, you get that value notice. And so we're saying that a lot of times the tax assessors manipulate that model to keep the taxable value high so they can collect money to operate the local government amenities. But what they're not doing is give the hoteliers enough consideration in the expense deductions. They typically come in at about 60% expense without property tax, depreciation, mortgage payment. But our research, along with CBRE, HPS, STR, all saying that for a mid-scale limited service hotel, your operating expense should be somewhere around 70%. They will do the 60 to raise the value. Then when it comes to the cap rate, we're saying the real world right now is getting 7 to 8% interest rate. And when you're trying to sell a hotel, your cap rate, your return on investment, your for the buyer is not as good. So they're using 6% cap rate. We're saying that today's market should be 10% cap rate. So those little mathematical moving and manipulation has a huge impact on the value.
Yeah.
Number two, they guesstimate your revenue. They don't have your revenue. The only state that reports revenue to the controller is Texas. Texas will have accurate revenue, so our hotel valuation tend to be more accurate. But outside of Texas, that is not the case. Therefore, you have nothing to lose to file an appeal just to correct what's wrong. Nothing will come back to you. The value will not get raised. It's up to you to take the opportunity available to you as a taxpayer to protest, to file the appeal, to correct what the assessor does not know about your property. So that's how we go about doing that for our clients.
Gotcha. So it sounds almost to me, from a layman's side of it, almost illegal
I
that
know.
they're overcharging me so that
That is correct, because the hard fact is that only 15% of the property owners appeal their property taxes. So you have the majority there just paying. So people doesn't know from the good work that you're doing here through LandingCom. I can assure you that your audience will benefit greatly from today's session and put money back in their pocket. When was the last time you have received a property tax refund check? Have you seen one yet?
All you ever see is they just keep on going up.
So
same with my home, it keeps going up and up
Right.
every year.
We deliver refund checks to our clients daily. We have a team that does nothing but processing refund checks. Just tell you a little bit more about the firm. We've been in business 50 years, considered to be the largest consulting firm in the nation. We represent about 350,000 properties. Out of those properties includes 7,000 hotels that we represent because our special method. And we have a team that does nothing but push the assessor to settle litigation. Number two, track your refund check and deliver that refund check to you. And last year, we have filed 11,000 lawsuits against tax assessors and 8,000 arbitrations against tax assessors. And it gives us great pleasure to walk those checks in the tens of thousands back to our clients and put a smile on their face and really improve their bottom line. That's what we took the most joy out of what we do as a professional property tax consultant that specializes in hotels.
Wow, that tens of $1,000s back in any operational budget is definitely makes the owners extremely happy, makes the
Yes.
management companies that are managing the properties happy, and all around it's a good day for everybody. So that's really great information. So with that,
Right.
we'll be right back. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Mr. Abraham Tieh. This podcast brought to you by IHRMC, the go-to hospitality management company in Orlando, Florida, and the power behind LendingCon 2024. And we're back to Mr. Abraham with O'Connor. Talked a lot in the last section about the rebates and how much money people can get
Tax
back.
checks.
Tax checks, you're getting a tax check versus having to pay a tax check. So that's always a good thing for everybody with that. But in the news lately, I've heard that several courts, like in Florida and California, have ruled against the tax assessors in favor of the hotel owners. If that's so, then how can a tax assessor continue to get away with overtaxing the hotel owner?
Right. So in the California appellate court ruled against the tax assessor for the Four Seasons Half Moon Bay and some other hotels in Southern California with the same case scenario, which the judge rendered a decision telling the tax assessor that the intangible business enterprise value of a hotel's brand and the hotel business should not be taxed. And so the judge sent the case back to the assessor and the taxpayer, the property owner, and say, you guys work it out. There's no such thing as how to calculate this. You guys just have to come up with the value. So in Florida, the case is much more complicated because it involves Disney and it goes for 5 years. And it went through the appellate court, and the appellate court judge told the lower court to send the case back to the Orange County assessor to work the deal out with Disney. So there's no formula, no, opinion of what the intangible value is. Just say, guys, go work it out. So the tax assessor in Orange County in Florida reached agreement with Disney, $5 million rebate for each year for 5 years. Now, the problem is that nobody can put a finger on the value of your hotel brand and your business. So we did it. We created the O'Connor approach. It is copyrighted and it's also trademarked. And we can license this to appraisers and to other users, but no one else can use this approach but O'Connor. And with this said, we took our cases through court, tax commission, district court, superior court, in very difficult states such as Utah, Massachusetts, New York, Arkansas, just to give you a few examples, and won all the cases through trial that validated our method and that validated our calculation. Just give you an example in Utah. Utah tax assessors had never, ever given hotel owners a single break on the valuation. And they overly assess by far. It's just crazy how they assess these property values. The judges heard me. I went to the trial with our lawyer, with our appraiser, and through a thorough trial, a month later, the decision was written in detail saying that the intangible business enterprise value should be honored. And because what we have presented, the calculation, our method is very simple. It is an incremental difference in revenue between having a brand, and not having a brand of the same class hotel. And so that the percentage of revenue increase is captured between the two. Then the franchise fee is back out of it. So if your franchise fee is 10% of your revenue, so we minus 10%. So the incremental increase is 20%, and then the franchise fee is 10%. Therefore, we'll take 10% is what's left, deduct that from your gross revenue before we do any calculations, before we divide it by the cap rate. So that number becomes huge. And the judge really agreed with us and gave 33% tax break to 3 hotels in that county for 3 years. And clients received hundreds of thousands of tax refund because of our good work. Same scenario in Massachusetts where we took the case to court, and a Hilton Garden Inn by Logan Airport, one single year, we produced about $500,000 of tax refund for the client, and so on and so forth. And so the methodology that O'Connor have created, it is created by myself and my partner, Andrew Choi. And it just works beautifully because it's easy to understand by the judge and the jury. And this is the kind of benefit that would bring to the hoteliers and your audience in really encouraging them to even just try us out. And if you just simply try us out, you will see the difference that we can produce, because no one else in the country as a tax consultant or law firm has what we have, because we spend the time in the hospitality industry. We research everything. We know your business E&L. We know what a PIP is. We're certified CHIA. We're everything about hotels. And we do a lot of cases in court. So we're comfortable in doing that, have a lot of experience. And that's the value added factors that we bring in to the community.
So what would you say then, Abraham, to hotel owners that say, I'm kind of worried because I don't want anybody to retaliate? Have you ever had any issues with that? I'm sure that that's a common misconception.
Yeah, it's a very common misconception. The tax assessment system, you get your valuation notice before you file the appeal. So how do they know you're going to appeal it? So how can they target you blindly without knowing who's going to appeal? That's the first thing. So you filed an appeal. Appeal is an avenue legally allowed the owner to correct the values, just what I've mentioned before, because the tax assessor does not have your profit and loss statement. They don't know how much revenue you collected. They don't know you had bad debts. They don't know your occupancy down to the T. They don't know how much you pay your franchise, your employees. They don't know. They just assume a percentage of the revenue allotted to those expense items. And so this is something that hotel owners anywhere in the U.S. need to pay attention to. You will not get retaliation. You will not get retaliation on your home value. Okay? You're going to be treated respectfully if you do this professionally. You cannot just go in there to a board and tell them that I don't have money to pay tax. Can't do that. Okay, so you have to present properly, know what you're doing, know the codes, know the law, know the methodology, and also know how to separate these two values, intangible and tangible. So once you have all that, behind myself is MAI appraisers that will appraise your hotel for tax purposes if we go to court. And of course, O'Connor pays for that cost. O'Connor pays for the lawyer. O'Connor pays for court costs, the expert witness in the consulting. So you're getting all these benefits plus data research. We have to update data daily to capture the latest value, to capture the market conditions. So we have the manpower to do it. Our support office is in Coimbatore, India. We have over 1,000 employees in India for the last 15 years. That's exactly what I just told you is research and capture the latest stats from the assessors so we can do a good job for you. Because if your assessor gives your neighbor a good deal yesterday, didn't tell you about it, we will find out when we download that tax roll data when they update it. So we can use those methods to protect you, to make sure you don't overpay tax, because we have the manpower and we also have the finances to do so.
So to follow up on Jill's question there about the retaliation, and also I talked to some of the owners about this as well, that if they bring down the market value or the value down, it will affect their resale value for their property. Is that something that should be considered? What are your thoughts on that?
Right. I'm so glad that you brought up this question because it works in contrary to what you just said. Just think about this logic. When the buyer comes to your door, you're going to show your buyer the revenue and the expenses. And the buyer only look at the net operating revenue, net operating income. How much you got left? Is this thing profitable? Is this thing worth me buying? Or is this thing failing so bad that I can capture the opportunity? But if you reduce that property tax tremendously, your NOI goes up and your resale value goes up instead of going down. So appeal your property tax and reduce your property tax payment increases your hotel's resale value by folds. Every $100 I save you, your hotel value went up $1,000. That's cash in your pocket. That's how significant it is. So, you know, you have nothing to lose if you do business with O'Connor, because O'Connor carries all the costs and O'Connor does not charge you a dime unless we save you money. If we don't produce a result, we eat all the costs. So it's a win-win situation.
Does this also work for non-hotels, like consumer commercial properties? Do you work with them as well, or is it strictly just for hotels?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we represent about 350,000 parcels, and which includes all other commercial property types: retail, apartment, office building, self-storage, warehouses, and so on. So we're familiar with all property types because we're not only being in the business for 50 years, but we also have experienced consultants, and appraisers and valuation experts for each one of those categories that we use to help the property owners. And most importantly, we also have data. O'Connor subsidiary is called Enrich Data. We have all parcels of real estate in the U.S. tracked by taxable value, by lending amount, by all transactions. And we sell that data to fee appraisers, believe it or not. So we're the leading expert in the valuation arena for the commercial fee appraisal side of the business. Therefore, we reap the benefit in our consulting business to have the access to property data that we fully utilize daily to help our clients reduce your property value, regardless what type of property you own.
That's right. It sounds like you've really hit a good stride of a situation where people just do the same thing they've done for years over and over again, and you've given the ability to actually change that mold. That's really interesting. Yeah. What do you think, Abraham, is the best way that people can get in touch with you?
Sure. We're very easy to get a hold of. First of all, our website is National Property Tax Consulting, or hotelpropertytaxconsultant.com. Our toll-free number, the helpline, is 888-666-1876. And we have full-time staff standing by to answer your calls, to answer your questions, or you can just come into our website, just type in hotel property tax, and we will come up, O'Connor will come up, and you can see the type of results we have, and the type of references we have, and also the type of the actual court cases that we have reached. You can also read a lot of articles that we publish and see a lot of videos for education purposes for hoteliers on our website.
Testament to their confidence if he says no fees up front.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to pay
No
everything,
fee.
and that's a real testament to your confidence of your product.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
There's that tried
Yes.
and tested program for many years. It's
Right.
been there. That's a
Right.
lot of stuff in this short podcast there. So obviously you're coming to LendingCon with us in August, and we hope
I look forward to it. Yes.
excellent. We hope people come by and visit you there. So why would you encourage people to attend LendingCon, and what can they expect from meeting you there? More information, or what can they expect from meeting you at LendingCon?
Right. So if you don't miss the landing column, I'm going to share my secret sauce with the audience as to how I put the numbers on your hotel brand that's not taxable, or your independent hotel business that's not taxable. I will show you the numbers.
Come to LendingCon and see the numbers.
You get
correct?
the inside
See
version
this.
of Lending.
Yeah, I'm going to reveal the secret sauce
Well,
that can put money back in your pocket.
Are you going to give us money there, or I got to wait on the money?
You got to wait a little bit, but it's coming to you if you engage O'Connor. That's it.
Excellent. As long as we get the money, that's all about it. Well, Abraham, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
On LendingCon, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at LendingCon here in Orlando.
Great. We'll see you in
Sure.
August.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation today. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, sir.